One of the most beneficial elements of hybrid work can be that it offers a great deal of flexibility about when you work. But it's important for us to recognise that hybrid doesn't necessarily mean flexible in this way, and we should consider the needs of asynchronous work as different than the needs of synchronous, hybrid, remote, or even on-site work. Microsoft 365 definitely has a rich set of tools that can help you with hybrid working arrangements. But in this video, I'm going to look specifically at the tools that are relevant to asynchronous work and outline some best practices you might want to adopt. In a lot of situations, hybrid or remote workers probably don't think too deeply about the synchronous or asynchronous qualities of their job, as you're not in an office and seeing different workers arriving or leaving at different times. In very large businesses, such asynchronous working may be down to conducting business over multiple time zones. Or perhaps you're in an industry where you have a 24/7 operation. Or maybe it's just that way to suit the work preferences of the different employees in your team. Whatever time of day you're watching this, I hope you're enjoying the video, and I hope you'll give it a like and you'll subscribe to the channel so you'll be one of the first to see any upcoming content. Thinking about asynchronous work is important, as it can exert different pressures on individuals and teams than other modalities of work. We are all constantly more connected to work, by carrying cell phones that are always alerting us to company emails, or just straight up having a work office inside our homes. It can be harder and harder to be detached from work and to focus on other things. And this can be exacerbated by these work schedules that don't align, as perhaps we finished work at 5, but our colleague prefers to start later and finish at 8. And am I supposed to be responding to the messages that she's sending me at 7:30 when I'm in the middle of family time? Asynchronous simply describes a pattern that isn't synchronized, where multiple things in some way connected to one another happen at different times as opposed to all happening at the same time. Imagine a synchronized swim team, all operating in fully aligned harmony, versus just a bunch of people trying to do their own thing in the same swimming pool. Having clarity about what's going on in either of these scenarios requires looking at things differently, as if you're a spectator watching a synchronized swim team do their thing, then if one or two members pull off in the wrong direction and forget their moves, it's going to be really obvious. But if you're just supervising a whole bunch of people who are in the same swimming pool but doing their own thing, then it's not really going to be clear if you've got one or two people who are pulling against the grain. But failing to be clear about on-time and off-time can lead to greater stress for your team members, negative feelings about work, family or social detachment, and even poorer health. But at the same time, allowing individuals to work more flexibly in alignment with their own personal needs can lead to greater productivity and happiness. For example, I personally prefer to engage with very technical projects at night rather than first thing in the morning, and this is when I know I can achieve my best with this sort of work. So how do we maximise the benefits and output enhancements of flexibility for individuals while ensuring that these extended asynchronous periods at work don't have these negative impacts on the downtime of others? Microsoft 365 has a number of technologies that can help, so let's look at those and some best practices while using them. So the first product that we're going to look at is Viva Insights, and you can access Viva Insights as an app, as you can see here, or you may occasionally see it pop up with some suggestions if you're using Outlook. But what Viva Insights is really about is giving you both information and resources to help you achieve your best at work while focusing in on your well-being, your productivity, and your interactions with other team members. But what we're going to focus on here in relation to asynchronous working is really the well-being section. And you can see there are things here like start a daily focus plan, disconnect with quiet time, thinking about your virtual commute. But if we head up to the 3 dots here and go to settings, you can see all of the different options that we have here. And the first one, you may be familiar with this from Outlook, you may have already done this in Outlook, but it's very easy to find this in Viva Insights, is setting up your work week. So if you work a non-traditional Monday to Friday 8 till 5 working day each day, you can actually go ahead and change your working arrangements in Viva Insights, and this will apply to your Outlook calendar and elsewhere in Microsoft 365. And what it does is it helps your colleagues to be able to know when you're likely to be available based on things like setting up meetings and so on and so forth. So if you're working, say, just Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and you're working elongated days, then you might want to think about setting this up so that that working arrangement is clear to everyone else in your organization. Virtual commute is about helping you to have the downtime, the unwinding time that you would usually have on your commute, even if you are working at home, if you're working remote. So what this does is just creates a reminder on certain days when you're going to be out of the office to have that commute time, have that downtime, have that unwinding time at the end of your day. Protect time is about helping you to focus. So whether it be about thinking of things like your lunch hour or having a no meetings day or getting focus time, it's about giving you time in your schedule that's going to help you to focus in on the things that you need to do. And this can be really important if you're working asynchronously, as if your time for focus doesn't coincide with other people's times at the focus. You know, there's usually a rhythm to a working day in an office where things kind of start off maybe a little bit hectic as people catch up on things, and then things slow down a little as people kind of knuckle down and do some real thinking work for a while. If you're not getting that because you're on an asynchronous schedule versus other people in your organization, then you might want to think about protecting time, so you make sure that you are operating to the rhythm of your own drum as opposed to operating to the rhythm of everyone else's. And this will help you do that, particularly in situations where people are using the Outlook calendar or the Teams calendar in order to work out whether you're free, and also looking at your status in Teams messaging or Teams calls. There is a lot more going on in Viva Insights that's outside the scope of this video, but I do recommend that you take a look at this, as this can be a helpful resource for organising your time and helping you to be most effective with your day. Next, we have communication tools in Teams and Outlook to help us with this mode of working. So if we jump into a new email in Outlook, you can see that next to your send button, once you've written out an email, you have this drop down here. And as well as just being able to send the email now, you can also schedule send. So you can see that we can actually schedule to send our email at a later time. And very often while you're in Outlook, you'll see that you get a prompt that pops up to tell you that you're sending email outside of working hours, and you might want to schedule it later, and you just need to say, yes, I wish to schedule it later at that time. And what this is about is being respectful of other people's time. So if you're the leader of a team, for example, and you send an email, you happen to be working at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, perhaps. If you send an email there and then your direct reports may feel compelled to read that email there and then. But actually, you don't need them to do anything with it until Monday morning. So using this, you can send that email on Monday morning as opposed to sending it on Sunday night. You can get your work done, but you aren't interrupting anyone else's time off during that period. Similarly, if you're in Teams and you're sending a message here, you can actually right-click on your send button and you can choose to send the message at another time of your choosing. And so that scheduled send feature works in Teams or in Outlook, so you can think about that as you're working to make sure that what you're doing isn't interrupting the free time of other people. Whether you're not physically working in the same place as the rest of your team, or you're not working at the same time as the rest of your team, working out how to plan and execute projects and keeping everyone on task and making sure that everything is getting done as it needs to can be a challenge. But Microsoft 365 has got you covered with tools that can really help you with this. Microsoft Planner is a fantastic tool that's included in every Microsoft 365 plan. And using it, you can really simply plan out different tasks for different projects or different groups that you're working with. You can set up a simple Kanban board like this, where you have different buckets of activity, very easily add tasks and then assign them to people. And you can be a member of just one planner plan, or you could be a member of dozens of planner plans across your organisation, depending on how you choose to set it up. Now, if you think about being a member of dozens of planner plans, that could seem really confusing. Where do you go to check on this every day? But Microsoft has made that really simple by integrating the tasks that you get in Planner with the tasks that you can see on your own personal to-do list in To-Do. Microsoft To Do, again, is included in your Microsoft 365 subscription, and it gives you a really easy to-do list functionality. You can create different lists of tasks that you have that you want to do or assign to you, and you can see that you have your assigned tasks from Planner here. So you can very easily keep on top of everything that you're being asked to do in one place. There are also lots of third-party tools that have similar functionality. And if you have people who are working in different places or at different times of day, then having some kind of way of keeping on top of this digitally can be incredibly important to getting things done. So I do suggest that if you're using Microsoft 365 that you try out Planner and To Do, but that isn't going to be for everyone. So there are other solutions out there, things like Monday.com and other third-party solutions that I know people use, because it's just so important to have a way of keeping track of your projects that can help everyone in your team, but more importantly, keep accountability and a cadence of getting things done for a team that isn't necessarily seeing each other at the same time or in the same place every single day. Co-authoring in Word or similar technologies in other Microsoft 365 apps can be a really important tool to allow you to collaborate with others, whether it be in real time or asynchronously, because instead of waiting for copies of documents to be flying around back and forth to you, everyone can actually work on the same document at the same time or over the course of a day or 2 days or a week. And you're never actually waiting on anyone beyond the specific section or the specific comment or the specific need that you've got for them. So it can be a really powerful mechanism to allow you to get more done without the process of waiting for someone else's time to come when they're able to focus on that job. So in Word, you can see we have a document here, which is just a blog post that I put up on my website a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to get Adele to look at a particular paragraph, which I think she may have some input on. So I can just highlight that paragraph. I can create a new comment. I tag Adele. You can see that Adele will be notified by email about my comment. I can just say, what do you think of this? And I can assign that task to Adele, and I'm going to go ahead and post this. And then if Adele doesn't have existing access to this document, it's going to share the document with her. So you can see here in Adele's email, we have the message that was sent by Pradeep, the context of the question, so it shows the paragraph that was highlighted in that comment. And I can either add a comment directly here, or I can go to the comment, so it opens up the document, and I could go ahead and make a change. Now back in Pradeep's view of this, I can see that Adele has made this change, and once Adele is happy with this, she can resolve that task, and that edit is added into the document. Microsoft Loop is an exciting new app in Microsoft 365 that I recently made this video on that really can help with the idea of working together but in a more flexible and do it where you're happy working kind of way. So if we jump into the Loop app here, you can see that Loop is really just a workspace that you can create different types of content in. But one of the most interesting features of Loop is that you can take any of this content you can turn it into a loop component. And then you can take that component and put it somewhere else in Microsoft 365. So let's try sending this by email. I'm going to paste my loop component into my email. And you can see that I've got all the content that I had in loop here. And I'm going to send this across to Adele. I can send my email. Then over in Adele's email, I have my loop component, but I can work on it right here. And back in loop for Praddeep, you can see that Adele's edition has turned up there. So this is very similar to the co-authoring example that I showed you in Word. But these kinds of technologies, whether it be the co-authoring or it be loop or loop components, can really help to break out your work and send people things or request things of people that really focus in on what it is you're asking for. That means that if someone's day is broken down differently than yours, then they can focus in, get you a specific response to what it is you're looking for, and then you can carry on with your work when you're next looking at it. And I think technologies like this can really help with that, getting away from the traditional model that you might have had in previous times of you do a draft of something, you maybe print out that draft or email that draft, you expect a group of people to read it and you can't really carry on until everyone has given you their feedback, so you're going to integrate that feedback into the document. This breaking down of a document, if there's someone who's working with you, next to you in the office, then you can work with them there and then. But if there's someone else that isn't going to be working until 8 o'clock that night, then you can send them the parts, the components that you need them to look at, you can prioritize them maybe, and you can send them across to them, and they can work on those things and get you the input you need. And this is really a different way of thinking about work and a different way of thinking about how we respect other people's times and other people's schedules with what we're asking them to do. And I think this can be really helpful for asynchronous work. It can certainly be very helpful for hybrid or remote work. But overall, I think generally changing how we think about using technologies like this, using these tools that have been created in Microsoft 365, can help to make all of us more productive and more understanding of the fact that different people do their best when they're working in different ways. Whatever the reason or the specific responsibilities or preferences that someone has outside of their work time, building a culture that prioritizes flexibility and balance is important to success. And as leaders, we must communicate and model the behaviours we want others to engage with. And we must create a safe space for others to highlight the different preferences or needs that are important to their view of suitable flexibility. We must also be clear on when flexibility exists and where it does not, and apply this standard fairly. In many businesses, these standards may be applied top-down, but it can also be really useful to develop these approaches in consultation with all levels of staff to ensure a variety of experiences are represented. Ultimately, no matter how rich the set of tools are that you have to deal with these kinds of issues, at their root, these are issues that are to do with people and to do with culture, and you must address them in that frame to be successful. And once you know what it is you're trying to achieve and what's important to the people around you, you can make sure that you have a set of tools and use them in an appropriate way to achieve what you're trying to achieve within your business. I'd really like to see in the comments below what your thoughts are on best practices around asynchronous work. What has worked in your business and what are the tools that you like to use? And hopefully, whether you are someone who is working asynchronously or you are a leader who is managing people who are working asynchronously, this video has been helpful to give you some pointers to help everyone succeed a little better. Until next time, bye-bye.